see the wrong name. Ed wanted to go over a couple of things. One of them is to increase the maintenance bonds up from 25% to 40%, and you wanted to talk about curb cuts too.
Yep, those are the two.
So, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, the maintenance bond issue was just that, is, right now, and I don't know how long it's 25% of the construction value for maintenance costs.
That's all I remember.
Yeah, and, you know, I looked around, surrounding neighbors, some are at 40, some are at 50,
Right,
so they're only 40%.
right.
It's a 2-year bond. You know, it's just there, if the town needs to take the money and do something, they've got money to do something.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
You know, it's costing the contractor usually 10% of the bond amount, so it's not a huge increase to the contractor, but, you know, I think 40% is a good number.
Some of them actually, you know, occasionally, they give us checks.
For
Because they
escrow?
don't want to, yes, because they don't want to go through the whole bonding
The bond, sure,
process.
that's
So, Dan, is that going to be any kind of an issue, do you think, with the contractors, and these are
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a
increasing
normal
the
guy.
maintenance bond?
That's better protection.
Okay.
The other one he wants to talk about is even better.
The curb cuts.
Curb cuts.
Yeah, so what's with the curb cuts?
Well, curb cuts is, I mean, and it's come up more so in, or at least right now, Somerville 7, in that, you know, we go out there, they build the road, we dedicate the road, the town takes the road, and then from there, they can go get building permits. And so they go out and start building, but if they're not cutting the curb right away, then they're driving over the curb with the concrete trucks and the framing equipment and everything else, and it destroys the curb. Some spots out there in Somerville, the curb's chipped and cracked, and it's brand new.
Yeah, I hear complaints about that.
Yeah.
And sometimes what they do is they put stone over the curb onto the road.
Yeah, they'll try to bridge it.
Well, it gets me though, and you see that yourself too, whenever they put in the patio homes, okay, the developer want to put the patio homes in, they don't put the top down until it's all sold out.
The asphalt.
And I talked to Harris about that a long time ago, just corner roads in binder,
Yeah, they'll say
and
there's
then
one bridge.
when it's all sold out, then we put the top on so the top doesn't get destroyed.
That's what
I
we're
would
doing.
like to see that get
That's
done.
what we're doing in Plum Creek. There's,
Yeah.
and I tell you what came up with that, because we talked about it. The privates can get away from it because of the utilities. NICEAG won't touch the development until the road's dedicated. And I don't want the town to take the road without the top. I don't, you know, it'd be great to just hold the permit
Well,
open.
we could dedicate the road and hold a bond to top it.
Well, we could do that, we could get a cost for the top and yeah, we could probably do something monetarily that way.
Well, I can understand NICEAG not wanting to do it, because what happens is then the developer comes in and they break all the lines.
Yeah, right, there's a
So-
liability issue between NICEAG
Right.
and the public, is it private, is the developer still owning it?
Right.
But yeah, if we can get a value of the top, you might be able to do something with an escrow or a bonding of the top.
So where did we
But-
define this? In subdivision regs or?
That's a good question, I don't know, that would have to come out of subdivision, well, it would come out to the PIPs, I think.
The PIP?
Yes, code, we have to
Okay,
have a breakdown of
right,
how it's gonna be lit, how it's gonna be done.
okay,
The curb cut itself, though, that issue is that if they, and it relates to stormwater to some extent, if they cut the curb, they're supposed to then lay gravel in, I don't know, 20 feet or 30 feet in the driveway.
right,
And that's their construction entrance for the lot.
right,
And that helps keep the mud out of the road.
right.
But without the curb cut, there's no gravel, there's trash in the road, there's trash in the curb. So, it's, you know, it's a sequence. Again, there are some towns that they won't even issue a building permit for the curb's cut.
So again, would that be defined within the public improvement permits also?
It'd be a combination of there and maybe an overlap with the building permit somehow.
Well, the building permit issues the approval to cut the curb. Okay, now the physical
Right.
cut that happens, you know, it's the builder's responsibility to protect that curb until that curb is cut. Unfortunately, they really can't accurately locate that driveway apron until the foundation is poured because of the different sizes of foundations and so on. So you're gonna have a time frame between the actual build out of the building where the curb cannot physically be cut, but it's still that builder's responsibility to protect the curb. And I think that's where some kind of a bond that has to be in place that when these curbs get damaged, they could get replaced correctly.
And
Realistically, if they're gonna drive over the driveway portion of the curb, it's gonna get ruined, they're gonna cut that.
just cut that piece out, eh?
But when they're rolling over the entire frontage lot of that curb length, it's just not right. It's not right, it's not fair to the town to have to go there and repair that curb after the fact.
And we can put in requirements that if they're gonna put on the curb, they gotta blank it, they gotta use board to bridge it, and there's right ways to get over it, they can get over it and do it right, without trashing the road with dirt and stone.
Well, it seems like as long as we're not holding them accountable, they're just gonna go whatever's
They're gonna
fastest.
keep doing it.
Right.
How is this any different though? Like if I run off the road and knock down a guardrail, I'm responsible for that guardrail. So if they're wrecking the curb, why don't we just, I'm curious why we even need a bond or any kind of maintenance
You might
issue
miss-
after the
You
fact.
might miss some cracks or something in it just because there might be like stress
Sure.
fractures within it that
Sure.
can easily be missed. And then all of a
But
sudden.
I mean, we can't hold
less
this
than a
bond
year
open
later-
forever, right? How long can we go back? Oh, 2 years.
Maintenance bonds.
Oh, okay.
Which is long enough.
Sure.
Most houses get those out.
Right, but if it falls apart in 2.5, you
Right.
know, it's because it went through this stress that maybe was not terribly
Sure.
necessary, and it could have been avoided, and, you know, it just might last
The
longer.
other thing we had asked them to do, it's in the specs, but we never follow up on it,
Flush out the
is
sewer.
flush out the catch basins.
And when they're all said and done,
You all said and done, we never had.
trash your open mud, is to flush the system out and clean it out.
Right, we can make these stipulations, what's the enforcement though?
Well,
You
it's
want to
just
chase
that.
all that?
Well, the stormwater permit regulates some of that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the mud is out on the road, it gets into DIs, it gets to the, I mean, it's a stormwater violation, but
You gotta catch them. Right.
you rely on the reports, you rely on the periodic inspections on site by a town official to visualize it, you notify it, you give them a chance to remedy it. But, you know, how many stop work orders did we issue in the last 6 or 8 months? I mean, a lot of them, because this is what happens. We take these systems and they're full of soap.
Well, we have put in the specs too, they have to put filter paper in the catch basins.
Sure.
Let's stop.
If it gets broke, you take it out, if there's a flood, anything, so then all the stuff insanity gets in it.
It doesn't drain when it's plugged.
Yeah.
So it's a hole.
Or eventually, well, fills the pond, I mean, it's when it gets there.
So let me ask you this, just asking, I'm not suggesting it, but could we have maintenance bonds for a longer period than 2 years?
Honestly, I don't know that answer. I don't know.
At some point, wouldn't they fight it? Like, how do we know that they caused the
I'm sure
damage?
they will,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it,
I don't know bonding companies enough of what their regulations are.
yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
okay,
That is, the standard is usually 2 years, yeah.
yeah. Just a thought.
You know, so I mean, if we're looking at the individual lot and we're looking at the condition of the curbing, the right of way of that particular lot, you know, we can make a notation that, you know, you've got whatever lineal feet of curb is damaged associated to that sublot. We could hold a CO until it's been addressed, but, you know, who's going to be the one to make that inspection of that finished product? You know, from the center line of the road, the entire width of the lot, how do we do that? I mean, we're looking at the sidewalk already, we're already looking at the curb, we're looking at the bubbler system. It's all within the right of way.
With the curb cuts, you know, what if the lot isn't sold, they don't know where they're gonna put the driveway on which side? Occasionally, you'll see that, where there's an extra curb cut on a lot because somebody decided to have the driveway on the opposite side of where the curb cut already exists. Would there be a lot of pushback? Because-
Reforming the curb never works properly, especially in the market, it just doesn't work.
What?
Preforming a curb cut
What do you mean before
before the house is built.
Got it, right.
Or anything gets built, it's just not, the market is just not that big.
Right,
So it's just a matter of tidying up, and writing some more specs, and
right.
we can do that, and just stay on the same topic.
Okay. All right, I'm glad Chief Kern is here. You had sent a letter to us that I forwarded on to the board regarding Gina Bolander's pending retirement coming up in August.
Yes.
And my email asked you each to read his letter and let me know how you felt about accommodating his request to fill in that position about approximately 2 months prior to Gina's
Yes.
actual retirement because
We've done
it's
this
a
before.
very, and you had indicated, you did reply. How does the board feel about that? Do you have any issues with creating a new? Okay.
I'm sorry, I must have been invited.
That's
That's
okay.
okay.
You
And is
probably
this,
were.
how, just from a accounting standpoint, so do we create a temporary position and then when the, how,
Yeah, there are a couple of things that
'Cause
we
if not, we
can
have to
do. We
delete the-
could, you know, they obviously want to hire someone off of the civil service list. And so if, you know, you run in, because it would be a clerk type
Right.
list, so it is a competitive list. And to hire someone temporary who isn't on that list, now, you don't want to train someone that
No.
you're not going to keep. So we would have to create a new clerk typist slot because we're all out of those slots.
Right.
They're all taken up. So
Did we do this
So-
before?
we've done this for other
a different
positions.
area though, right?
we have.
Not for this one.
But
That
I
is
thought we did
correct.
it as a temporary position before.
And that is another possibility, that if they were to find somebody on the civil service list who would be willing to take the job on as a temporary employee pending Gina's retirement. So and then we would not have to create an additional clerk typist slot. It doesn't hurt to have an additional slot because you don't have to fill it.
Yeah, but
You
when
have
it's
to
open
have it
and
if
people
you're
like
going-
it filled.
If you're going to
Can
fill
you
it.
get by with the temporary position
Well,
like that?
It was explained to me that might be part, like 35 hours and no benefits, so I don't know if we get the
Yes,
ideal.
and you might not get someone willing to give up, willing to take the job who's currently on the civil service list, and then they wouldn't be eligible for any of the other benefits.
But wouldn't that only be for the 2 months for training?
That is
Right, but
correct.
the concern is maybe it's like court clerk or somebody with prior training may not want to give up her benefits or his or her
Might want
benefits.
it, yeah.
For 2 months.
Might not want to leave the 40 for the 35
Right.
for.
Right, so we want the
So-
best. It's a very intensive job,
It is.
and there's a lot of moving parts to it. She deals with basically a lot of records in the department, from arrests to over to the court, and there's a lot of accident reports.
She
Yeah,
deals
there's
with the
a,
Office of Court Administration.
Yes.
And their records are very
she
sensitive.
gave me a list, and it was about 2 pages long of things that she does, so it's,
Is there any such thing as closing out a PO 17? You're opening up a PO, aren't you calling a PO 17 now?
Well, we have to file a PO 17 to create a position.
Is there anything after Gina's gone and this girl's in position for us closing that position? Is there?
There's no reason to do it, it just sits there empty.
We don't have to fund it.
You don't have to fill it or fund it or anything else. So we have, you know, police officers, we have a ton of open spots for police officers. You know, it just so happens that we have no additional slots for clerk typists. So we would want to create that, and I think the ideal way of doing it to ensure that they get the best person to do the job and someone who would be willing to leave another job, you know, perhaps if they made a lateral transfer from either a current clerk typist position in the town or a current clerk typist position that is from another agency, which they could do also. They obviously have to be town residents, though.
Are we gonna run into the same issue?
With-
If we run, if someone's making a lateral move, aren't we gonna have to open up a second position in their department to cover the same?
Well, sometimes you get the whole domino effect.
Right.
Yes. It depends.
Okay.
Okay. The position that Gina has is, she's been doing this for a long, long time. I guess about 10 years here, but she was with the Navy before that, and then she came back here part-time, and then full-time again, so, okay, so we will have a resolution out for the next meeting, and then, you know, you can start at least canvassing the list. And as far as funding was concerned, this individual, if it wasn't a lateral transfer from within the town, would be on step. And you do have, you will more than likely have some personnel funding available because we still don't have all of the police officers funded. So, you know, so the salary shouldn't, the dollars and cents, you know, it's not going to have an impact on the budget at all. So, okay, so we'll get that ready. And let's see. Okay, Dean, do you have anything? Okay,
Just
Michelle?
on the resolution of part-time seasonal employees,
Yes.
I made change, because we got a name on there, I don't think he's coming back, that's the only thing I'll say.
Well, we'll keep it on,
Right,
and,
right.
you know, if we
Yeah.
have to add to it, okay. And Michelle, do you have anything? Michelle very kindly got a letter explaining the bid process with those mowers.
Resolution 19.
Yeah, so thanks for getting that and explaining that, so.
Joanna, one quick thing on our end, the planner.
Nice.
Yeah. I've got two submittals back,
Mhm.
and there's one I think you're recommending.
Yeah,
I just want to get the board to approve us to retain the plan.
yeah, Wendy came back, pretty reasonable rate,
Yeah.
hourly not to exceed, just 3,000 for meet, all the needs required to redo the zoning map, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're just looking for the.
Her background is she was involved with our comp plan a little bit. And who she currently is, what she was for a long time, a member of the planning board in Clarence.
Okay.
She lives in Clarence. So, she has the background, she understands what we're trying to do.
Right, okay, good. And will you get a letter in?
I do have one, right, yeah, I have one.
Okay, so that, we can get the resolution on for the next
Okay.
meeting, I think that's, I mean, we really need a planner to do that. None of us have any of that expertise.
Yeah, no, and we did have a meeting with Chuck today, myself and Matt, and made some good progress. Chuck, the timeline is, Chuck's self-imposed deadline is April 19th to get us the revised zoning code. The biggest change is going to be filtering out the 14 current zoning districts into maybe 7 with some overlay districts. A lot of the 14, some of the 14 zoning districts right now are just, they're overlapping, they kind of run out of their.
One of them is not even existent.
And that is,
Shopping center district.
yeah,
It's still in our code.
right.
So April 19th is the self-imposed deadline to get that back. We'll give it to the town board, we'll give it to the planning board, we'll get some feedback from the planning board by Memorial Day, and then we hopefully are having public hearings on it come June, get some public feedback.
Right.
What the
Can you
code is.
explain to the board the concept of the overlay districts?
Yeah, the best example is the sand and gravel, I believe.
Sand and gravel is what we discussed.
Well, we're gonna put those overlay districts on top of a general,
The general industrial district
Okay.
where it supports it.
yeah. So we'd be,
But not every GI is going to be,
No, we're not gonna have the
Okay.
GIs in the northern part of the town because the base district will, it just doesn't make sense to put the GI district right next to an agricultural residential district. So we have to determine
Yeah.
a better base district to support.
and that's where the planner comes in.
okay. But SGA now, sand, gravel, aggregates, is in the north end of the town.
Most of it is in the north end, some of it is in the central, south of Walden Avenue, there's a couple active.
Okay. Very good. Matt, do you have any?
Just a couple of numbers I wanted to present at the last meeting, didn't have the opportunity to do that. Both for January and February, each month recorded 9 fire safety inspections each for a total year-to-date, end of February and 18. And then for the number of complaints, January we fielded 48, February was another 70 for a total of 118 year-to-date to the end of February.
Fire complaints? What were the complaints?
Overall.
Overall.
Everything, property maintenance, drainage, however it is.
Gotcha.
Beginning of the month, I've been turning into drainage complaints.
Yep.
I'm gonna additionally support fire safety inspections and all other complaints at the beginning of each month.
Gotcha.
Just to give the board a handle on the activities that are happening. in the
Right,
town.
it's not just building. Right. Yes, I know.
And then lastly, again, I want to profusely thank the board for allowing me to attend floodplain management training last week. It was intense, drinking out of a fire hose intense, and hopefully I did pass the examination and become one of the few certified floodplain managers in the area. So hopefully it'll be a benefit to the town. Thank you again for
Yeah. No, that was time
Throw
and
in
expense,
$5
sure. One of the biggest issues that we face is
Well,
the
it's important because
stormwater.
of the FEMA,
Right.
the floodplain legislation,
Right.
and all the implications associated with a flood disaster when the state declares emergency in the county, and when we get a federal emergency declared by the president, we're able to get funding to help rebuild as well as improve the existing
Right.
floodways.
You're good.
And then the last thing is, Ed punched up chapter 30. On there. Chapter 11. Okay, that's chapter 11. I think it looks good. It's just,
Basically, it's the PIP section, and
Got it.
our code always had PIPs for public improvements in it, but it was silent for
For private.
private improvements.
Right.
It was a big hole, so this just kind of took care of that, because there's, the fees talk about the private, but there was no code about the private.
Right.
So we just kind of cleaned up the way
Good.
together.
we can start the process for the code change.
That's good,
The board's on board.
yeah, because that's, you're right, there's been a big hole, there, real big hole.
Okay, I've got a question
Uh-huh.
too, Dave, for Kevin. Resolution number 18, you got the non-harassment discrimination and television policy.
Yes,
We just have to acknowledge that they received that if they don't want to sign it, correct?
yes,
Yeah.
that is correct.
Okay.
Right, and their signing it is merely, it's not that they agree with it, it's merely, the signature is acknowledging that they've received it, end of subject. And if somebody refuses to sign it, then we will just make a notation that it was hand-delivered to them, they refused to sign it, so. Right, but this is New York State mandate, so,
Right now, we're just focusing.
you know, we have to do this, so. Yeah, every business and government in the state of New York has 2002. Does anybody have any questions on any of the resolutions? Are we all set with those?
Hey, number 15, I got a question. Ernst Architects, they go by a different name? I don't recall getting a package from them.
Point Properties, Ernst, Properties.
Okay, I remember that name.
Yeah, four names altogether.
Okay,
Fontaines, Fall, Albrecht, Burns.
okay, yeah, it just came up, I don't recall seeing just Ernst.
No, that is actually, it should flow up there, but.
Oh, this is all one,
It's
gotcha.
all
Yeah,
one.
no,
Okay,
sorry.
I see.
Fontaines, Falls, Albrecht,
gotcha.
Burns.
Yep, perfect.
What number is it?
15.
So
Yeah, sure,
resolution
Terry,
we'll list
15,
it.
when you go off to the right down there, maybe when you do the minutes, this supposed to, that's
It's
one
same-
firm.
same one
One
company.
firm, four
It
names.
shouldn't be separated.
So like this is one,
Yeah,
that's
there's no
one.
room.
Yeah.
Right, that's what happened.
Yeah, so
So
if
maybe
you
put parentheses
could,
around it or something.
if you could widen the margin so that it's, get my drift, because that's all one name. Widen the margin.
Tab it in.
Or tab it in.
Or you can put parentheses.
Well, narrow the margin, right.
If you can't fit it, put
But I'll do
parentheses.
something.
Yeah.
Do something. You can make the font smaller. Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay, so this is
Yeah, one name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright.
Let's see if that happened to any of the others. It didn't, that's the only one that it happened to. Got it. And then, you know, after the resolution is done, I'll make sure we get the letter sent out.
Yeah, be able to get there's some steps.
Did you, okay, thank you.
What about the list there? You did get, when you put my score in there, but you did not get my, until today, I didn't know you wanted it.
That's okay, it did,
No, I never, I didn't hand in the time.
but it did not change it's in the table, but it didn't change where we were. I mean, like I said, everybody was pretty consistent at the end of the day.
Were they?
Yes.
That was probably some of the most boring reading I've ever done.
Oh, it's a good exercise. And again, like I said, I took a lot of hours to go through that. I think my data showed that. And it's just that, you know, price-wise, Divanado, you almost had to lower everybody's score, because Divanado was so fair with their pricing, that there's no one that came close to them, as far as that goes. And as far as the work with the town and all the experience they had,
And they scored the highest in the.
they scored the highest.
So his price was very cheap.
I think I gave him a.
Yeah, but you can't tell any of those prices because the way they gave their prices, titles are all over the
That's the
map.
only problem. with our
Nothing,
industry
it was
is
apples
titles.
and oranges.
Well, you had to find like titles, and that's what I did. I went through them and I came up with like titles.
Yeah.
A project manager,
Yeah.
and if they separated it by electrical or whatever.
Yeah.
But you notice there was one firm that gave project managers for different areas, electrical or whatever.
Yeah.
There was differences in various rates, but again, if you did a lot of research like I did, you were able to magnify that a little bit more to the point where you can make comparisons.
Trust me, when we get the billing in on it,
Well, yeah, I felt my job here was to put us in position to select the best company for the best price. And that's, it took a lot of time. but
Well,
it's
then
well
this
worth it.
does not preclude them from having to, give us a proposal.
Oh, absolutely
every
not.
time.
No,
So,
this, we
This
looked
is
at
just
this,
qualifications,
but
that's all.
it's good to have, it's good
It's
to
an
do.
option of what we gotta go to. That's a big thing for it too.
So,
Saves the step in the process.
Well, there were some
Yes.
firms that had, scores the world, doing well, look at it,
It's just gonna be the real prices.
Right, they had no local presence and stuff like that. So,
no executive session? Yeah, I know.